Good morning, just waking up after night 2 on the West Coast Trail over a 5-day trip. It poured rain all last night and it's not supposed to let up for the next 3 days. The first 2 days were beautiful. I got on the ferry at Gordon River, went across the river and started off at the very first ladder of the trip. There's a ton of ladders on the West Coast Trail. You use them to get up and down through valleys and dips in the trail. They can be a lot of fun, but are also very scary. There's a lot of infrastructure on the West Coast Trail because the terrain is so crazy to navigate. Over those first 2 days, I also got to cross this crazy bridge that almost made me pee my pants. The West Coast Trail is 75 kilometers long, and the beginning of the trail is known for being super muddy and wet. The trail alternates between going through a very lush rainforest here on Vancouver Island, and then going down to the ocean and walking along the ocean. When you're in the forest, there's a lot of mud, it's very wet. You're having to skip and jump between logs and roots in order to dance your way along the trail. I personally really enjoy these muddy sections because I kind of feel like a ninja as I'm going along them. But it's also really nice to get down to the beach and do some of the oceanside walking. On day 1 and 2, you experience some very beautiful ocean landscapes as you're walking along the beach. There's the Owen Caves, which are just phenomenal. One of the crown jewels of the West Coast Trail, and I got to experience them at the perfect tide level. And you have to time your walks on the ocean well so that you're walking on the rock tidal shelves and not in the ocean. And there's also some beautiful beach walking. I got to walk along some gigantic beaches, see some really cool rock formations, and generally feel like I was on a beach vacation while out on the West Coast Trail. Those first 2 days were amazing. I was super happy to experience them in the sun, but now we're in for the grueling part of the trip with 3 days of rain. So I just saw a rescue helicopter booting back down the coast towards civilization. That's the second rescue helicopter I've seen on the trip so far. I saw another one yesterday in the middle of the day. Parks Canada says that they rescue someone on average from the trail every other day. So that's a lot of injuries that are happening, especially when you consider that only 60 people are starting the trail each day. Because of that, I'm gonna be extra careful going up and down these ladders. They're a little treacherous on a good day, but when they're wet like this, they're dangerous. Speaking of, there's another one. That is crazy, second one of the day. And that's actually circling really close by. Hopefully everyone's okay. For this trip, rain gear is super important and I put a lot of thought into it. I ended up picking up the Enlightened Equipment Visp jacket. I also wanted to get the pants, but they were out of stock, so I'm wearing the Outdoor Research Helium pants. The Visp jacket has been awesome so far. It's waterproof, it's breathable, and it has armpit zip, so I'm able to dump heat that way as well. If you guys are interested in the gear that I'm using on this trip, go check out the video description where I'll have a link to my lighter pack that lists off all the gear that I'm using. As well, once we get to camp, we'll unzip the Visp here and see how dry it kept me. As I'm filling up water here, you can see there the helicopter that we saw earlier. It has its sling out. I don't see anyone in the sling, but it's going around. It looks like it's trying to find somebody that's maybe in the forest. So you can either take the forest route or the beach route for a lot of the trail. And if you're in the forest route there, the logs, the ladders, the bridges, they're all super slippery and it'd be really easy to get injured. The rain right now is insane. I don't know if I've been in rain this strong ever before, so I'm definitely gonna be careful heading down these ladders as we get down to the beach. I'm really happy to be back on the beach. It's pretty treacherous in the forest there. Like I said, all those roots and bridges, and then that spot was following a bluff or a cliff. So there's spots where I was trying to jump across a slippery route, and if I slipped, I'm falling off the cliff into the ocean. Pretty sketchy. Luckily, most of the rest of the day is on the beach, so hopefully that keeps me a little bit safer. It's more exposed to the rain, but I'm willing to take that trade-off. So I was just hiking that beautiful beach over there. When I had this trail in 2017 with a big group, we nicknamed it Proposal Beach because it's just so beautiful, iconic, great place to get engaged. And I don't know if it's the fact that it's just before lunch or the rain or just how beautiful this trail is, but it's got me really missing Steffi Poo. This is the first big trip that we did together. And while I love solo trips and going out backpacking by myself, this is the kind of trail that is just really special and that much better with someone else and sharing that experience. Still raining. It's supposed to rain pretty much continuously for the next 36 hours. And my objective in that time period is to stay as dry and warm as possible. And that's no easy task. We're getting pretty close to camp for tonight. I see it just along the beach there. We're gonna head there and get set up. So just had dinner inside a cave with a school group that was camping here. I'm about to head into the tent and hunker down for the rest of the night. I took down the tarp because it got really windy and the tarp was starting to blow away, so we'll just be dealing with the tent. One of the hardest things with getting into the tent when it's raining is you don't want to be bringing all of your wet gear in the tent with you. So I had to change out of my wet rain gear inside the vestibule, leave it all outside there so I wasn't bringing water inside the tent. My clothing underneath the rain gear was in pretty good shape. I promise to let you know how my shirt was. And it's pretty much dry. The Visp rain jacket did a very good job of protecting me from the rain, and it is definitely raining. It's also super windy. The wind is just coming right off the ocean and pummeling the shoreline, and there's not really a lot of protection here. Tomorrow we're expecting more rain, and whenever you're dealing with multiple days of rain, it makes it exponentially harder to keep your gear dry and stay warm and safe. So tomorrow's gonna be interesting, and we'll see what happens. My tent pegs just blew out. I'm gonna have to get out in this rain and try and reinforce everything because the wind is picking up and it's supposed. So that was pretty close to being a disaster with the tent. If one peg goes, then that really throws off the structural stability of the entire tent. So with this corner just out and flapping in the wind, I was really worried that the entire tent was just gonna lift off, but I managed to get basically naked, run out of the tent, and then get that tent peg put back in and reinforce all the other ones. So I think I'm pretty solid for some pretty good wind. I have some big rocks and logs on all the corners, and as long as these trekking poles don't snap, then I should be good for the rest of the night. Whew, that was crazy. Good morning. It's still raining. Last night it poured rain, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was the wind. It was windier and rainier than I've ever experienced before, not only backpacking, but in life. There's times where this pole was bending, the entire tent felt like it was gonna come down, but luckily all the reinforcements I did at the stakeout points kept the tent up and I survived the night. It's supposed to continue raining all day again today. I'm hoping that the next camp has a bit more shelter at it because I'd like to be able to keep my tarp set up and kind of be in a more protected area. This outhouse might have the nicest view out of any outhouse I've ever been in. I gotta leave that door open because this is nice. All packed up, ready to hit the trail. It's gonna be interesting to see how wet the trail is and then how slippery those ladders are. We started off the bat with some of the most intense ladders of the entire trip. This is a full river, and this is a long cable car. It's gonna be a pain in the butt to do by myself. Like I was saying before, this trip is really nice with other people, but I'm having a lot of fun by myself. If you guys followed me on the Great Divide Trail, you know that bad weather kind of gets me down, but right now I'm feeling great. It's not raining super hard and my spirits are up. The fact that the West Coast Trail is so beautiful and kind of magical, I don't really know how else to describe it other than the fact that it just has this vibe about it that just makes it really special. So we've made it to camp. This is the Darling River campground, last campsite of the trip. Let's go see if we can find a place to hunker down, something that's a little bit protected and a place I can easily set up my tarp. Those trees over there look pretty good. Let's go check it out. Oh yeah, I think this will do. I'll set my tent up over there and then have the tarp sheltering me over here and then have a little hangout area, and it's pretty protected from the wind as well. And a lot of good tree cover. Let's get it set up and then I'll show you what it all looks like, and I'll also take you into my sleep system because I have a very specific sleep system for this trip. Got the X-Mid tent just kind of tucked away in the corner there, then have this nice living area underneath here with my hammock gear tarp on top. Both the tarp and the tent are made with sil poly, so they absorb very little water relative to sil nylon, and that was a purposeful decision for this trip. And right now, even though they got drenched yesterday, they're drying off very quickly with this little bit of wind. And then I have this corner of the tarp down a little bit because that's where the wind is coming from, right off the ocean. So it's providing a little bit of a windbreak for when I set up my chair and cook a little kitchen in here. So here we have my sleep system. I have the 2022 version of the Nemo Tensor with an R value of 4.2. And then I'm using the Trekology 2.0 pillow with the pad strap on there. And then my quilt is the Katabatic Flex 22 quilt. So this has hydrophobic down in it, which makes it perform a lot better in wet and humid conditions. The down is just able to keep its loft a little bit longer. Something I was a little bit worried about this last leg of the trip was that this river, Darling River, is prone to flash flooding. And with all the rain we had, I thought that maybe it would be a lot deeper and a lot quicker. Right now, it's not too bad, easily crossable, but hopefully we don't get a ton of rain tonight, and then that makes this river uncrossable tomorrow morning. Good morning. Having this tarp system over top of the front end of my tent has been awesome. I can get in and out of my tent without getting wet. I can leave the fly open, and that way I get a lot of good ventilation. I've started getting packed up. I have my sleep system all packed up in there. I've eaten some breakfast, some beautiful breakfast underneath the tarp, looking out over the ocean. It's been amazing. And I think I nailed the gear for this trip. A lot of rain happened on me. It was a little bit tough at times, but we made it through. I'm gonna go check out what the river levels are of Darling River, make sure I can cross it. Then we're gonna finish off the trail. If you wanna go check out my dedicated gear list for this video, go look at it right up there. It goes over everything that I brought with me and why.